Mega Man 3 is a game I've always had somewhat mixed opinions on. I don't know. Despite Mega Man 3's generally positive reception within the fandom, I can't say that I liked it all that much. Now, it's no, say, Mega Man X7, but as a whole, I left it a little miffed overall, especially in comparison to the prior and, spoiler alert, next game in the series. It's pretty complicated for me, but not just for me as well. Mr. Mega Man himself, Keiji Inafune, would find that this would be one of his least favorite entries in the series. Whether that still holds up today remains to be seen. I mean, a lot of Mega Man games have came out in that time frame. Mega Man X7, Mega Man X6, there's a lot of X games that are really not good. But, give credit where credit is due, I do find Mega Man 3 to be a good video game at the end of the day. But, just not as good as Mega Man 2. No doubt, Mega Man 3 was definitely trying to do what Mega Man 2 did for Mega Man 1. They seemed like they wanted to up the ante in a lot of ways, but honestly, if anything, Mega Man 3 was kind of a slog for me to get through at points. But I'll lay that out all on the battlefield, because this is my review of Mega Man 3. Man, that title screen didn't live up to the music. Fundamentally, Mega Man 3 should have been a slam dunk. And, on a gameplay level at least, I'd say, yeah, it was pretty good. Pretty much anything good for Mega Man 2 was ported into 3, and seeing how I enjoy Mega Man 2, yeah, Mega Man 3 is pretty fun to play at times. Mega Man still jumps and shoots like the good old days, but new to Mega Man 3 is the slide. The slide gives Mega Man a nice burst of speed, which I found pretty fun overall. But, even less so than Mega Man 2, Mega Man 3 really doesn't add a lot to the formula. Once again, that's not a bad thing, but it's something I should note. But I found the design surrounding the general gameplay to be disappointing. A lot of people really don't talk about this, but the combat in Mega Man 3 is really annoying for whatever reason. And it's not the weapons themselves, although I will get to those. The enemy design of the game has just taken a severe hit. Enemies can be super erratic, and a lot of them are packing some pretty high damage for whatever reason, which can kill you in a few hits. A good example of this is the Gorilla Robot in Hardman stage. Laugh now. This guy just jumps sporadically and it's really not fun to fight, especially with his decently high HP. It's not bad, but it's also not that great either, at least in comparison to the other Mega Man games. And this is combined with some pretty shallow stage design at some points. Once again, it's not as bad as the worst in Mega Man, but Mega Man 3 stages can be shockingly one note. My go-to example would have to be Magnet Man stage, which is so annoyingly short that it's not even funny. The stage shows promise in the beginning with these sort of cool magnet enemies, but then it just nosedives after the Proto Man fight, which, by the way, is easy as cake. Following this, it's a short invisible block segment which just lasts all of 1 minute before just ending, which is pretty bizarre. Something like Heatman stage in Mega Man 2 had a lot of platforming to go with it, and an invisible block segment. And also, in Mega Man 3, you still have the Rush Jet, although it's massively buffed from previously. So this makes the shorter stage really all that much more apparent. I think some longer stages, or at the very least levels that aren't as linear as Mega Man 1 stages, could have really helped me remember some of the stages better in Mega Man 3. Or at the very least make it more challenging. The level design of Mega Man 3 is very well structured, but it just never hits the same high as Mega Man 2. There are a few stages I can get an absolute kick out of, but in general, it doesn't even compare at all favorably to some of the worst stages of Mega Man 2. Oh, also, that Proto Man fight? Yeah, I should probably talk about that right now. So, that leads me to the story. Yay. Before I continue on, I should note the story of Mega Man 2, which I pretty much skipped over. Wily's mad, do it again. Alright, now back to Mega Man 3. You see, Dr. Light and Dr. Wily come together to make Gamma, a peacekeeping robot which only needs the 8 energy elements to function. This is why we're fighting the Robot Masters in this game, but uh-oh, they got hijacked, and now Mega Man runs off to stop them. Occasionally, Proto Man will come down and attack you for whatever reason. Maybe to prove that he's superior to Mega Man or whatever. I don't know, you can't just walk around mindlessly and expect to take you seriously, but maybe this is some hidden genius at play. But anyways, you beat Proto Man, you beat the level, you killed the Robot Master, and discovered that the weapons are complete and total ass. Like, seriously. They're so abysmal that it's not even funny. Like, where do I even begin? Seriously, this honestly might be the weakest weapon roster in the entire series. I have never found any of these weapons useful. Or, at the very least, I never use them in regular gameplay. They are that bad. But first, I should note that something interesting is that Mega Man 3 has 2 weakness chains. Kind of. Snake Man, Gemini Man, and Needle Man all counter each other very perfectly. And the rest of the Robot Masters are in a loop too. And honestly, I like this a bit more than the series tradition. While it may seem that this makes the game more difficult, since it forces the player to experiment with their weapons, if anything, it's better for beginners here, since there's 2 bosses who are weak to the Mega Buster. So with 2 chains to start out from, Top Man is one of the easiest fights, as I mentioned, and also Top Spin counters Shadow Man. But, Top Spin actually sucks. It's basically impossible to not take damage with it. And, seeing as how typically getting hit isn't a viable strategy, I've genuinely never used this weapon, even in the Shadow Man fight. I only did it for footage, and yes, it was very easy here, but there's also a good chance that you just kill yourself because the weapon sucks. And this is what I mean when I say Mega Man 3 has the worst weapon roster in the entire series. There's definitely an improvement. The overgeneralizing Metal Blade or the Thunder Beam doesn't have an equivalent in 3. But the solution isn't to gut literally every other weapon, guys. Even then, I still find the general weapon design to be far and away inferior to Mega Man 1 and 2. In those games, there was always room to use most weapons, but a few duds were on the way of creating a perfect lineup. But the biggest issue with Mega Man 3's weapon roster is that everything is just so niche. Magnet Missile is perhaps the best weapon in Mega Man 3 because it hones in on enemies, but even at its best, I'm usually just sticking to the default Mega Buster. The only time I find myself swapping to the other weapons is for the weakness chain, but that's assuming I can hit them safely to begin with. And the weapons I always find the worst in Mega Man tend to be the weakness fodder. But, as for the weakness chain in question, you go to Sparkman, who is a cinch with the Shadow Blade, who then is weak to Snake Man, who's then weak to Gemini Man, then Needle Man. Like, honestly, I've done this before. You already know. Unlike Mega Man 2, I never really considered what items I was bringing into the stage either. I mean, Rush Jet for Magnet Man's stage, I guess, although I can do these no problem. And I will say, the Rush items are actually kind of awesome. Well, Rush Jet at least. By the way, if it wasn't obvious, Rush is the dog. So for you non-Mega Man fans watching this video, there you go. But also, I really don't have much to say about the Rush items in this game. There's Rush Coil, which just boosts Mega Man up, which is pretty cool. There's Rush Marine, which really isn't that useful. And there's Rush Jet, which is perhaps the best weapon in the game. You can fly in any direction, and your only limitation is how much weapon energy you have. But if you spam the jump button on Rush Jet, no energy gets consumed and it just keeps going. Even without this, it's still the best weapon in the game because it just breaks so many platforming sections. But with this, you're pretty much unstoppable until the Wily Fortress, where the game wraps up in a nice little bow as the day is saved once more. Hey, did you pass out there for a second? Anyways, as I was saying, we face the Doc Robot stages, which I swear to God have no place in the story. Seriously, I looked it up on the wiki too. They aren't plot relevant in any way. I guess they could be one of the robots that mine for the materials, but once you see them in action, I'll bet you'll doubt it. Anyways, rather than just being 8 simple boss fights, they're instead 4 old stages with 2 boss fights in each one. These specific iterations of the stages are altered to be slightly harder, but even then it still feels pretty damn shameless. For the record, I'm not against the idea of reusing stage assets for the sake of new levels. When done right, it can actually be pretty cool. Some of my favorite games of all time do this. But when it's this egregious, and part of the main storyline I should add, starts to get pretty stagnant and fast. Genuinely. Some of these stages aren't even that much different from their counterparts. Like, you're gonna go through the whole trouble of creating a whole new tile set and all of that jazz, only just to edit a few elements? Oh, this is without mentioning the Doc robots themselves, because they're even worse. Somehow, they are just straight up reusing Mega Man 2 content. It's not even subtle. And these are altered to be slightly more difficult, just like their stages. And good God, Doc Robo, quick man, dude. I was seriously tempted to just crack my controller in two. You see, in Mega Man 2, Quickman did 4 contact damage. While that's certainly nothing to scoff at, it was relatively manageable given Quickman's speed. So, imagine if they upped that damage from 4 to goddamn 8. Yes, this boss can easily 4-shot you. And it's not like Quickman's fast or anything, because contact damage clearly wouldn't be an issue. At the very least, Quick Boomerangs got reasonably toned down to about 2 damage, but this is seriously one of the most aggravating fights I have to go through. I just barely clutched down in this recording. Thankfully, nothing gets as bad as Doc Robo Quickman, but I just can't get past the fact that they're just so clearly padding out the game's runtime. Seriously, why do I have to fight them? There's no explanation for them, and it's just fights for Mega Man 2 again. This is just miserable overall, dude. And then immediately after, we had to fight Breakman, apparently. Anyways, this fight lasts about 30 seconds, and we easily kill him. Seriously, watch. Yay! Anyways, after Mega Man defeats Breakman, we find that Wily stole Gamma right after we got the final energy element, which is bullshit. Protoman and the Doc robots weren't mining for them in the first place. You mean to tell me that all the Doc robot stages were just simply distractions? Well, actually, I'm not surprised. Anyways, as per usual, we run off to the Doc Wily stages. And you know what? This time around, they're not half bad. These are all pretty easy compared to the usual stages, but they're honestly a bit better designed than the regular stage lineup. Not only this, but I honestly find the bosses here to be a bit better designed than a normal Mega Man boss. These ones are a lot more dynamic, and hell, they even brought back the Yellow Devil. Oh, shit. Well, actually, this time around, this thing is actually well designed. Not only can you slide under one of his blobs now, he doesn't do as much damage and his blobs move far slower, making a much more fair and fun fight. In fact, I actually quite enjoy it. But, at the complete opposite end of the spectrum, this Wily fight is just far too easy. Because you barely need to engage here, and that's not even a joke. You don't even need Rush Dead or anything. Camp with the Shadow Blade, or if you're out of Shadow Blades, just camp with the Hard Knuckle at 0 risk. And then, for the final phase, just spam the Search Snake. It's not even that hard, because the platform spawns right next to Wily's head. Seriously, what the fuck? Or, a well-timed top spin will one-shot this guy. Anyways, with Gamma's destruction, Wily once again finds himself bested by Mega Man. But suddenly, the fortress starts to collapse, and the debris falls on Mega Man and Wily. Then suddenly, Proto Man pops in to save the day. While Wily is nowhere to be seen, Proto Man saves Mega Man and books it regardless. And then, once Mega Man comes to, it's revealed that Proto Man was an ally after all. And in fact, he was the brother of Mega Man. With that, the credits roll, and we hear that familiar whistle once again. Mega Man 3 is perhaps the messiest of the classic series so far, and one that I found mostly skewed average. It's just so painfully overwhelming to a fault. There's just so much in the way that keeps me from consistently replaying Mega Man 3. Yes, it does have a lot of positives, but it's counterbalanced with some very, very strong negatives in my eyes. While I don't find it to be a bad game at all, it just fails at so many aspects which I find crucial to having a well-balanced Mega Man title. Its weapons are pretty poor, it just aren't as nearly as fun as Mega Man 2, and at times the game can be just as frustrating as Mega Man 1, and if not, even more so. But the weird thing is, I honestly think Mega Man 3 would be a pretty good game without the Doc Robot stages, because honestly, I could forgive a lot of Mega Man 3's faults, perhaps even a top 3 Mega Man classic game. But I'd like to think that would sit somewhere between 1 and 2. I don't know. For any modders out there who want to hit me up, I got my DMs open. Because as it is right now, I think Mega Man 3 has some serious room for improvement. But at the same time, I think the next game pretty much bests Mega Man 3 in almost every way. In fact, I'd even argue it's the second best game in the NES saga. Because, look alive folks, it's Mega Man 4 for the NES. Until next time.